kill the brain and you kill the ghoul.
Welcome back, Boils and Ghouls, and thank you for joining us once again as we chat about all things horror. This horror break, we're going to recap and review all the things that we've watched, read about, or played. With me today are C and Lena, and we thank you so much for listening. Let's get started.
I've basically rewatched a lot of stuff because I didn't feel up to watching new stuff. But the only things that I've actually watched for the first time was I watched Brightburn, the movie Fall, and Slaughterhouse because I've seen it at my work. I mean, Brightburn was pretty. It was okay.
Mm-hmm.
It was like this movie that wasn't very liked back in the day when it came out, and I can understand why. It just feels quite average, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, it was dark, but it wasn't. I don't think reinvented anything.
True. The same thing with Fall, kind of. I mean, Fall was like a movie that kept me on my toes, but I'm not the biggest fan of like how do I say this, one location horror movies or like thriller movies where they're stuck in one location. I mean, Buried Alive and stuff is really good, but you could have seen the twist coming of the movie. Plus, it was so hyped in every social platform that you kind of already knew what was happening.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of have like mixed feelings. Sometimes it can be done really well, and other times it kind of feels lazy. Like, oh, okay, so you're saving on the budget. Got it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind that they stayed on the budget. I also really like the dynamics of the two actresses in the movie. I just think the ending is a bit predictable if you really get into it. And that's quite sad. But you can't really make it unpredictable nowadays. Everyone's prepared for everything, I'd say. And the third movie, like Slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, I just saw it on the DVD shelf. And I was like, damn, it's basically a sloth killing college girls in a sorority. Because that one girl wanted to make that sloth basically the pet of the whole sorority. Like a mascot. And it just turns out that it's a dangerous killing sloth. It just kills people, and it falls into the category it's trash, but it's lovable trash. You can just rewatch. I'd say I really liked it.
So it's not like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, where it's like a person in a mask. It's like it's a legitimate animal.
It's a legitimate sloth, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect for creature feature nights.
Exactly, or like another trash movie night.
Yes. What about you, C? What you get into?
So I really haven't gotten into a whole lot this week. I did run through so it was on today. Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, and I believe there's an Alien on right now. So I watched the whole first movie, and then the rest of them, I couldn't just sit on the couch all day, so they were kind of playing in the background. But I did see last week, yes, it couldn't have been more than a couple days ago. I just had it on my computer so I could remember, but it's a movie called Abigail. I saw a trailer for it.
Oh my gosh.
Have you guys heard of this?
Yes.
Okay. So I was doing a little bit of reading on it, and the same people who made what's that movie? I talked about it last week. Don't let go, let out, don't run. It's the video, man. You're gonna know exactly what movie I'm talking about. It's the one where she gets married, and then they play the game, and then she has to play hide and seek.
Oh.
It's that one.
Ready or Not.
Ready or Not. Thank you.
So that was a fun trip. So the people who made Ready or Not also made this movie, and I saw the trailer for it yesterday. Well, I saw like the preview for it, I guess, a couple days ago, and then I actually sat down and watched the trailer for it yesterday. and that movie looks fantastic.
I've seen it too. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Me too.
I like the tagline for it too. Children can be such monsters.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, it's so I would say that's I'm looking forward to seeing that. I don't know when it actually comes out. I know the trailer just came out. I want to say the trailer came out actually probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I've just been seeing the commercials for it and ads for it, I guess, in the last couple of days. But yeah, other than that,
it's Dan Stevens too, and I'm really into him. He was in Legion.
Who is that?
Dan Stevens.
Dan Stevens.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. Oh shit! Okay, yeah. I have him on my computer screen right now, so I can see who you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I don't know anybody else that's in it. I haven't even looked at the cast yet for it, but.
I mean, I've seen that Angus Cloud is supposed to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
So the Euphoria actor that died last year, I think.
Oh,
that is right. Yeah, that is right.
I'm interested how they put him in the movie. I mean, it might just be a Paul Walker thing where they have some scenes already filmed and then he just dies off screen or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh right. Or what was that movie when they died and then they CGI'd them in a bunch of scenes?
I mean, it's also Fast and Furious 7, I think.
Is that okay? One.
Yeah, where they just put his brother on the screen and then they CGI his face over it.
Yeah, you're right. I do remember hearing about that. Yeah, they could.
That's creepy.
You have to play your own brother.
Your deceased
but then it gets weird,
brother.
Right?
Yeah, that's weird.
So
I don't know.
Who gets the royalties for it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, either his daughter or his brother. But I mean, it was kept in the family.
Right. But yeah, I mean, it was a really slow week, so I don't really have a whole lot other than those few things. Watching, all the Aliens, and then seeing that new movie coming out called Abigail. But what about you, Gigi? You getting anything crazy this week?
Well, kind of like you guys, I rewatched When Evil Lurks I wanted to rewatch things because I just like to. And it was such a good movie, and they talked about it so much in the horror awards. I was just like, yeah, I need to give that another watch. And I'm so glad I did. It just got better with the second viewing. Damien Rugna is like a freaking genius. And then I flipped into Satanic Hispanics, which I hadn't seen. And that was, it was a mix of serious and silly, but the whole thing was really good. And the first story, I didn't realize that Damien Rugna had done it, and I was watching it, and I got excited because they had a Terrified sticker on the laptop, and I was like, man, this whole story really feels like something Rugna would have done, and then lo and behold, it's because he did it. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. And then I've been really excited because I also watched Give Me Pity, which was weird. It's on Shudder. I can't say I recommend it. I can't say I don't recommend it. I can say it exists in the universe.
Well, give us like a 1-minute synopsis.
Okay, so it is a woman doing a TV special in like the 70s, and things turn psychedelic and weird.
Oh.
Like everybody's on LSD?
Yeah, kind of. And
the psychedelic movies.
Yeah, and she goes like into these very odd personal stories of mayhem. And it's an odd movie. On Shudder right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the name of that again?
Give Me Pity.
Give Me Pity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't have Shudder anymore, but I will definitely be looking that one up.
Okay. Yeah, it exists in the universe, so it is a thing. I don't know what else to say about it. Because
that cover looks fantastic.
Right? It does.
It looks like one of them. Who was it that did like the exercise videos in the 80s? Jamie Fonda?
Jane
James
Fonda.
Fonda?
Yeah.
Jane Fonda, that's it, yeah. Kind of looks like one of those exercise videos.
It does. It does have that vibe and all the shininess. It's very disco.
Yeah.
There's some otherworldly elements. Yeah. It's definitely yeah. And then the other thing I kind of wanted to talk about, which feel free, anybody who's listening, to talk about it in the comments, because it is an interesting topic. But Late Night with the Devil has been getting some negative attention because they have 3 still images that were AI generated in their movie. So they're getting some pushback because of that. But I think it's one of the best examples of a movie, if it's going to use AI, if that is the way to do it, because one, there's still a massive human element. It's an indie movie. They still have tons of practical effects and puppetry. So, they're using old tech with practical effects, smushed all the way up into future tech with AI. And I also kind of feel like that's really kind of interesting, and it's not dissuading me from going and seeing it at all.
Well, what's the argument, or what's the backlash that they're getting for using?
So the backlash,
they were just still images, right?
They're just still images, 3 still images. The backlash is that they used AI at all, and so people are kind of pushing against wanting any AI in movies, which I honestly feel like is you're pushing against the tide. It's inevitable. I know I've said this before in our private conversations, but it's to me, it's the equivalent of people in the silent film era denouncing talking movies because cinema is a visual art form.
Right.
And there was a huge pushback against talkies. And it's this is silly. So I think responsible use of AI, because one of my grievances is with the artistic licenses. AI is pulling from a reservoir of artists' work, and if it's not properly credited, you're stealing from the artist, and these are active artists that they're stealing from, and that's not right. If you're going to pull AI generated images and the AI is using stuff that's in the public domain, then that's fine. Anybody could use those anyway. But when they're stealing from active artists that are not in the public domain, and they're saying they don't want to give those artists credits because that would be too much work. Well, it wasn't too much work to put them in the reservoir that AI can pull from.
Right.
So I think ethical use of it is what's important, and in a way that is not going to adversely impact jobs. But I really feel like Late Night at the Devil, of the movies that are going to use AI, they're picking on an independent film. Disney used AI images in one of the intros of one of their shows in 2022. So it's why aren't you guys taking on the giant?
Yeah, it's low-hanging fruit, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole AI argument is really tough. One, because I'm not artistic, so I don't have the level of appreciation for that style of, you know what I mean? That style of thing, right? I look at it, I'm that looks really cool, and then I kind of move on, which is my own, shortcoming. But I feel if anybody who doesn't, and this is something that just kind of happens in life, right? If you don't use the resources that are disposable to you, then you're going to either fall behind or fail. Then whatever you're doing, whether it's building a house or whether it's making a movie or, whatever it is, if you don't use the tools that you have, then you won't be able to compete with the things around you. Now, of course, right, if you're using a tool and it belongs to somebody else, you should absolutely pay them for that. Whether it's the tool or whether it's their expertise in the thing that you're trying to use. But that's really tough because where does the limit on like human creativity go? Like, is there a limit to it?
I don't think it is. And honestly, I think one of the most powerful AI tools is going to be in its ability not to generate images, although that is really cool, but in its ability to aggregate data. Like, that is so fascinating to me, and where I think the bulk of AI use actually is in the private sector. Right. And I think, for instance, like law firms and firms and medical practices, that is where AI, I think, is actually going to get the most use and have it be
beneficial.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Like the human race will gain or garner the largest kind of positive outcome.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Because I kind of think of it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I've worked in the medical field for a while, and it's a surprisingly high number of people who, when they come in, they don't want any of the information associated with them available in any public forum.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it's almost like, hey, if we just don't tell them that you know what I mean? Because like, you can only, when you're doing things like that, whatever it is, especially medical or lawful, you would have to have a significant number of data points to be able to pull from in order to get trends or which it would circumvent research almost, where your ability to smash in a bunch of things that are happening and then spit out trends, so what's useful and what's not. Could go a lot of different ways, I think.
Exactly. Well, and I kind of think of it ideally, like, this is my version I always kind of lean to when I think about AI is in Snow Crash, which is a cyberpunk book from like the 90s, written by Neil Stephenson, and one of the characters is the librarian, and he is an AI that simply like pulls knowledge, right? But the ability to retrieve relevant data is surprisingly difficult. Like, it's still difficult now, even in the age of Google. I mean, I know a lot of people might not think of it that way, but to get the most accurate data is not an easy thing to do. And especially the larger you get in the framework of resources, right? Because we're humans and we can miss stuff. And one of the things that it might really benefit law firms, and like if the law firm with the best AI will end up on top, is because they have a reserve of private data on old cases. And if they can get an AI to comb through those in seconds, what it would take a human like months to do, that's a huge edge.
It makes me start to think of that one movie. I don't think it could be considered a horror, but it would be like in the thriller. What was that movie? It had Tom Cruise, and it basically knew if you were going to commit a crime based on
like Minority Report.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's scary.
I mean, with the whole AI thing, I don't mind it being used in like kind of art form stuff, as long as artists aren't being stolen from, like you said. But what I'm really scared for is that people just start getting lazy and let an AI write scripts and write stories for them. That's the only thing where I'm like on the opposite side of the whole AI discussion, because I don't really want more people, more artists, more creative talents to lose their job, to lose what they're really passionate about, to just be another thing that got taken away from technology.
Well, and on that same vein, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
One of the things that also, sorry, darn it.
No, but that's the thing that they've been on strike about, I think, as well, because they just didn't want to be excluded anymore, and that's the only thing where I'll also be like, yeah, maybe I'll boycott a movie that was written by AI.
Yeah, I would too. Like if it was solely written by AI or even half written by AI, no, I might.
But what if it was really good?
I mean,
Like that's my thing. Like at the end of the day, right? So like, and this is coming from like a consumer primary brain's like thought process. So don't get mad.
okay.
But as a person who watches a lot of movies, I can get highly entertained by just about anything, whether or not the people that made it made something that was absolute garbage, or the people that made it, made something great. Like I, as the consumer, enjoyed what I saw. So if these AI platforms make good things, why not enjoy it for what it is versus out of spite say, I'm not going to support this because a person didn't create it, even when it's good. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's
like a
true.
devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
The point I was trying to make was more like, what if a person has been working on it? Like, what if it's like a situation with the Crow movie? What it was like a writer that was on it, or like a movie adaptation of a book or something like that. And they had writers or they had someone with a vision and they just decided not to use them and just use AI because you save money from it. That's like the thing I mean. I just don't want writers to lose their jobs.
I think that's a really good point. You got to protect some human interests, right?
Yeah.
Agreed. My only devil's advocate to that would be how many people write a script for the same movie, or they're hired to write a script and then they say, no, thanks for your time, you wasted 6 months writing this for us, but we're going to go another way. The only difference is that all of the people who wrote the scripts still aren't getting that outcome of being paid for their work and everything. The only difference is one person isn't getting it and it's going to an AI. You know what I mean? So in that scenario, it's really only one person, the person who would have gotten the script, deal or contract, because everybody else who also wrote their script didn't get it anyway. You know what I mean? It's tough. And don't get me wrong, I don't disagree with you. These are just like the backside ways I'm coming about it. It's just hard
I
to
can understand. It's like with ghostwriters. Some people don't like when someone is writing a biography or like a story or something like that. They just have someone that wrote it for them and then they just put their name on it.
That's a perfect example. Yeah, I think that's a great example.
I mean, some books are still great, even though this person hasn't written them and it just got credited to them. So I know exactly what you mean, but I think I'm just a bit scared to lose the majority of writers on this.
Right. No. Okay.
I think I'm also a little bit nervous that people will put so much deference toward answers provided by AI that they won't question it because it's pulling from somewhere, right? And we've seen with ChatGPT, they can have incorrect sources and their answers can go wonky. And I'm picturing things 5-10 years in the future where AI has kind of become ubiquitous, and then people are just like, well, this is what it says. And then they're not using their thinking brains to go okay, but is this accurate? Let me double check. And that's...
I feel like we're writing a script right now.
A little bit. Right?
We just need someone to write it down, and we've got
Yeah, I think it's also the same with practical effects and visual effects and all that kind of stuff. When they changed to CGI, I think a lot of people were mad as well, especially in horror, because horror used to be all practical, and I heard people say, "Oh, it doesn't look natural." And nowadays, in some instances, you can't really see if it was made practical or was CGI. Is what I'm trying to say. That maybe it just becomes an art form like these two do, and so you have the classic written movies and you have the AI written movies.
Mm,
And then they get divided into their whole genre as well. Maybe this
Right.
will happen. I can see it, but
I could actually see that happening, yeah. Almost like how we're applauding Late Night with the Devil for having practical effects and
Yeah.
AI.
yeah.
you can't do both. Shame. Yeah, I don't know. And it's such a tough. I don't have a bunch of stake in the game either, so I think my opinion could absolutely be not opinion. My way of thinking could be a little jaded on the topic, but because I could absolutely see it being a negative thing like overall, but I don't know. We'll see.
I'll just sit and wait, like most of the times, because I'm not the person that likes to be badmouth something instantly.
Right.
The future is
I'm
coming,
like,
whether
I'll
we
see,
want it to
yeah.
or not. Dun dun dun.
Exactly.
That's the truth. Is there anything else crazy that anybody got into this week? AI took us for a loop there for a minute.
It's an interesting topic.
Yeah.
No, not really. I would just say overall, my biggest win for the week was watching Satanic Panic or Satanic Hispanics.
So I actually, as soon as you talked about that, I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago on the Discord. When I looked at the poster for it, the poster is funny, or the poster looks relatively serious. It's kind of got like a Mummy meets Mars Attacks look to it, but at the very top in super small letters, it says stories from Latino SF directors.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that was really funny. Like that lets you kind of gives you an idea that it's not going to be 100% serious, So I'm looking forward to watching that.
Well, I've been a little bit bored too. I'm playing Alan Wake 2 for the second time, so it's like, do I really want to let people know that I'm playing it again? It's great. Well, they call it the final draft, so there's additional story items like manuscript pages and videos and things to watch. So there's additional content and incentive to play it again. But it is still Alan Wake 2.
Do you have to play it again? Like, do you have to beat it in order for those things to become available on like a second playthrough?
Yes, yeah, you have to beat it once before the final draft is available to you.
That's crazy that they think about the thought that needs to go into that. Oh, that's bananas.
It's so fun. And they have so many references to past games and Control, which is in the Alan Wake universe.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know you mentioned that a couple episodes ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
What is Control for anybody?
So Control is another Remedy title, and it's based on a super secret government agency called the Federal Bureau of Control, and it's kind of like if Scully and Mulder had a budget. It's like a huge department. And they investigate all of the otherworldly stuff. And there's a crisis in their headquarters. And you're playing the new director. So, and they actually have an Alan Wake tie-in. You visit the Alan Wake universe in the game as well. So I guess the connections go both ways. And I don't know if this is true. This is just like rumor mill. This is nothing official from Remedy. But the Casper Darling videos in Alan Wake 2, he's a scientist from Control that goes missing. And you don't find in Control at all. But the videos that you find in the final draft allude to him having his own game or another game about Control. And I can kind of see it.
Okay.
Like maybe a Control 2 or Casper gets his own I don't know.
Right. They're alluding to the potential release of something else in the future.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It is.
God, that's so deep. My brain can't handle that.
I'm
I
excited.
just like sitting down for 90 minutes watching a bunch of things get murdered and then and then repeating it. Oh. All right.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. And thanks, everybody, for joining us this week. We hope you all enjoyed this episode and stay spooky.